Welcome to another episode of Cards from Magic's Past. In this video, we'll take a look at a red-white creature that dominated the standard format, Boros Reckoner. Released in Gatecrash, the second set of Return to Ravnica block, Boros Reckoner was kind of an unknown card during spoiler season. The reason why was because no one had an official preview. However, when the community got their first look, they immediately knew Boros Reckoner had potential. For 3 hybrid red or white mana, Boros Reckoner is a 3/3 Minotaur wizard with 2 abilities. The first ability says, whenever this creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. The second ability gives it first strike, but only after you pay a hybrid or red-white mana. During its debut, Boros Reckoner was played with sets from Innistrad block, the first 2 sets of Return to Ravnica block, and Magic Core Set 2013. About 2 weeks after its release, there was Pro Tour Gatecrash in Montreal, Canada. At this event, Boros Reckoner was one of the most anticipated cards to enter the standard format. In the end, there were 3 unique decks that took over the tournament. The first deck was Blue-Red-White Control. 2 different versions made the top 8, one by Joel Larson and the other by Jerry Thompson. Both versions played a mixture of creatures between 2 and 4 mana, burn spells, charm spells, counters, and Sphinx's Revelation. Its trump card, however, was Boros Reckoner. Because of its trigger ability, Boros Reckoner simply being on the battlefield was already a nuisance for your opponent, so when Boros Reckoner attacks, blocking it may actually be a worse decision than just taking the damage. The card also became a problem even if it wasn't doing anything. That's because cards like Blasphemous Act could also deal that same damage to the opponent thanks to Boros Reckoner. Not only was Blasphemous Act a potential threat, there were other cards that also had synergies with the 3/3 Minotaur. The first one was a combo where you could gain infinite life. This occurred when Boros Reckoner would receive damage. What you do is give all your permanents indestructible with Boros Charm, then give the Minotaur lifelink with Azorius Charm. These 2 instant spells combined would allow Boros Reckoner to deal damage to itself infinitely. And since it can't die due to indestructible, you gain infinite life from lifelink.
Jerry boards in Jace the Memory Adepts and can actually just deck Joel, and Joel's aware of that. So it's likely that Joel doesn't want to go for infinite life when he can, just because of that. I mean, he still might, but it's not as much of a windmill slam as it would be in like game 1.
Yeah, Jerry has.
While I appreciate your tactical approach to that, I want to see him gain infinite life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we all do.
The best thing about this combo was that Boros Charm and Azorius Charm were modal spells that could be used for other situations during the game. The second trick came from the card Harvest Pyre. This 2-mana instant spell deals damage to target creature equal to the number of cards you exile from your graveyard. What you do with Harvest Pyre is target your Boros Reckoner and redirect that damage to your opponent. This combo was typically used as a quick finisher.
We have blue, white, red Reckoner control on one side leading off against Tom Martell playing the Aristocrats.
The second deck that ran Boros Reckoner was called the Aristocrats. Designed by Sam Black, the Aristocrats was the most interesting deck coming into Pro Tour Gatecrash. It being somewhat unknown also gave the Aristocrats an advantage, and it even won the event in the hands of Tom Martell, who defeated Joel Larson playing blue-white-red control in the finals.
Here's another Aristocrat. Joel nods. In they come, and Tom Martell of the United States is your Pro Tour Gatecrash champion for 2013.
The third Boros Reckoner deck was Naya. This red, green, and white deck had very little non-creature spells and won by having a large supply of quality creatures. With a whopping 16 copies in the top 8 of Pro Tour Gatecrash, Boros Reckoner was the breakout card of the tournament, and it kept its place at the top for several more months. Out of those 3 top performing decks, the one that lasted the longest was Naya. That's because when Innistrad was rotated out of Standard, Theros block replaced those missing pieces to keep the 3-color deck competitive. This lasted pretty much to the very end of Boros Reckoner's life in Standard. Before it rotated out of the format, the Minotaur Wizard made one last stand at Pro Tour Magic 2015, when Patrick Cox made the top 8 with Naya Aggro.
That was just such a devastating play there. Now Pat Cox gets to start to rebuild his board here with a pretty decent one too, Boros Reckoner. That can make the pack rat math get pretty awkward for Owen, but man, that was nasty.
There were other decks that used a full set of Boros Reckoner. One such deck was Red Devotion. When Theros released in fall of 2013, the new devotion mechanic became the next big thing in Standard. Boros Reckoner, with its mana cost of 3 red or white mana, was efficient in filling the devotion cost for red. This culminated at Pro Tour Theros when Mono Red Devotion made the top 8. Another deck that was successful with the 3/3 Minotaur was Red Deck Wins. Boros Reckoner, being a very good aggressive 3-drop, did wonders in a deck that primarily topped its curve out at 4. And just like Naya, when Innistrad rotated out, Red Deck Wins filled its holes with cards like Fire Drinker Satyr, Eidolon of the Great Revel, and Fanatic Amogus. Lastly, we can't forget about Boros Devotion and Boros Aggro. These decks played almost like Red Deck Wins, however they splashed white primarily for Boros Charm and Chained to the Rocks. Today, Boros Reckoner is nearly forgotten. You would think the card would have potential in other formats, like Modern, but unfortunately that was never the case. But that doesn't hurt its legacy. This card was absolutely amazing, and it ruled the Standard format, from the moment it entered the game, all the way to its final days. That's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed the video and learned a few things. We'll cover more cards in the future, so please subscribe and like our videos. Also, feel free to give us a card recommendation by leaving a comment. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again.